Olá, pessoal. Bom dia. Bem-vindo a todos. Meu nome é Mauro Miranda, sou o presidente da CFA Society Brazil. Queria agradecer a presença de todos. É sempre um prazer estar aqui uma vez por ano nesse evento que é o Research Challenge. Eu vou daqui a pouco falar algumas palavras em inglês, até pela presença de um convidado internacional. Mas, primeiramente, queria realmente dar os parabéns, para todas as equipes que estão aqui hoje, seus faculty advisors, os mentores que participaram. Essa é a 11ª edição do CFA Institute Research Challenge, que a gente faz aqui no Brasil, é a 12ª globalmente, e a gente só não participou lá no primeiro ano, mas desde então temos feito esse evento que envolveu esse ano mais de 300 voluntários e participantes, entre alunos, todo mundo que participou do evento. O Gustavo vai falar mais sobre isso daqui a pouquinho. Primeiramente, eu queria agradecer ao BTG Pactual, o Matheus Carneiro, que está aqui do meu lado, chefe global de RH do BTG, e CFA Charter Holder, membro também da CFA Society, vai falar algumas palavras já aqui logo depois de mim. Obrigado pela sessão do auditório aqui para a gente fazer esse evento no dia de hoje. Queria agradecer também aos patrocinadores Bloomberg FactSet, XP Investimentos e Fitch Solutions, que nos ajudam ao longo do ano a fazer tudo que a gente faz na CFA Society Brazil. Well, so like I said, I'm going to shift to English so I can thank my colleague, Simon Caudry, who's here. He's one of the judges this year. Simon used to be the president of CFA Society Cayman, and he's now the President's Council representative for Latin American and Atlantic Islands at CFA Institute. He's a volunteer, just like me and Gustavo, and he traveled all the way from Cayman just to be here today and be a judge in this competition. He doesn't know about the company Anima Educação. He hasn't studied the company, which is great, or hasn't studied a lot about the company, which is great, because you're going to get his full attention, and you're going to have to explain to him why you like the company or why you don't like the company, and in English. So that's going to be great for him. And I'd like to thank the other judges as well. Gustavo is going to introduce them in due course. Well, again, thanks everyone for coming. I wish you good luck. It's going to be a long day for us. We're going to have, for the first time, 2 finals. So one of the teams this morning, will be a winner. Another team in the afternoon will also be a winner. And the winner goes to New York in April for the Americas final. So thank you very much for coming. Mateus, please, your turn. Thank you. Good luck.
I'll go straight to English then, okay? Thank you, Simon. Thanks, everybody. Good morning. Thanks for coming. Thanks, Mauro. Thanks to CFA Society Brazil for giving us the opportunity to participate somehow in this initiative. It's really a great pleasure, a great honor for us. Congratulations to the groups that have arrived here in this final stage of this challenge. Good luck to all of you. I would like just to share 2 minutes. I don't want to speak too much here. Just 2 things that I would like to share with you. It is really very important for us to participate somehow in this project because here in BTG Pactual, we really are making a great effort to incentivize all our employees, especially those that had just come out of the university, to engage and prepare and really apply for the CFA. So we have some programs to incentivize that. So participating in that and being able to speak to our population, our employees, our young analysts, that we are leaving this in this initiative, it's always very good for us to reinforce this message to them. So we have been having over the past years increasing number of our analysts applying for the CFA, participating, and we have been giving them all the support, the subsidies to participate. And we hope that over the next years we're going to have even more and more. And certainly being able to participate in this sort of initiatives, we will only reinforce and we will only give more power to this kind of effort from our side. So just this comments. Thank you once more. Really very happy that you guys are here. I know that some of you we already know, some of you already know us. It's very good to see some familiar faces here, but I promise I will not be really cheering for them, so I'll be neutral. So anybody who wins will be happy. And I think I've already told Mauro that whoever goes to the final challenge in Americas will be really very hopeful that it can make Brazil, it can put Brazil in #1. So thank you, congratulations, and good luck.
So now Gustavo Moreira, our board member and the head of the Research Challenge, listen to this guy, he knows the rules, follow the rules. We need to follow the rules today. So, Gustavo.
Bom dia, pessoal. Bom dia. Eu estou muito feliz pela presença de vocês aqui. Como o Mauro disse, pela primeira vez a gente está com 2 finais. São 8 equipes finalistas e 2 equipes vão para Nova York em abril. Eu tenho certeza que vocês fizeram um ótimo trabalho. Tá? O feedback dos graders não podia ser melhor. Tenho certeza que está todo mundo muito nervoso aqui. Todas as equipes estão nervosas. Quando vocês estiverem apresentando, no momento que vocês estiverem falando, vocês vão pensar, não devia ter falado isso, poderia ter falado outra coisa. Não vai ser a melhor apresentação da vida de vocês. Com certeza não vai ser a melhor apresentação. Mas não vai ser a melhor apresentação dos concorrentes também. Então, fiquem tranquilos, procura se divertir. Tá? Vocês estão aqui para aprender, para ganhar bagagem e coloca no currículo com muito orgulho que vocês são finalistas, da etapa brasileira, do CFA, e um de vocês vai ser vencedor, um dos 2 vencedores da etapa brasileira. Tá? Eu vou continuar aqui, primeiro agradecer pela Anima Educação, a empresa sempre foi muito solícita, foi muito próxima. A gente está com o CFO, o André Tavares, aqui. Ele vai ficar assistindo, ele não vai poder falar nada, fazer pergunta, porque nesse momento quem pode fazer pergunta vão ser só os judges. Vocês vão ter 10 minutos para apresentar, e esses 10 minutos não é 10 minutos e 1 segundo, 10 minutos e 2 segundos. Tocou o alarme, 10 minutos, acabou. Tá? Não pode falar mais nada. Para facilitar a vida de vocês, a Cíntia, que está ali à esquerda, ela vai levantar uma plaquinha quando faltar 1 minuto, então vocês já vão finalizando, já vai finalizando a ideia, 10 minutos, tocou o alarme e acabou. Não se preocupa se vocês tiverem um sell, por exemplo, na empresa, uma recomendação de venda, porque a empresa não vai ficar chateada, é uma questão de valuation. Vocês estão aqui para avaliar a narrativa da empresa, a filosofia da empresa. Muitas vezes você pode ter a melhor empresa do mundo e ter um sell, ou a pior empresa do mundo e ter um buy. Aqui vocês estão fazendo uma análise fundamentalista, então não fiquem constrangidos com isso. Falando da empresa, continuando, vou agradecer a presença do CFO, André Tavares Andrade, que está aqui. Daqui a pouco a gente vai ter o Inácio Dowden, que esteve na nossa apresentação em 1º de setembro, que vocês assistiram pelo webcast. Alguns de vocês estavam lá também. A Marina Gelman, a diretora de RI e diretora institucional, também vai vir. Daqui a pouquinho vai estar aqui. Então, isso mostra o comprometimento da empresa, como a empresa realmente está alinhada, abraçou a ideia. E também eu tenho que agradecer muito a Isabela Maturro, que não pôde estar aqui, mas ela é analista de RI, ela sempre demonstrou muito comprometimento, muito profissionalismo. Tudo que a gente pedia, ela respondia a gente. Ela foi a pessoa responsável por responder as perguntas de vocês. Vocês imaginam que teve muita equipe inscrita, então teve muita pergunta para responder. E pelo nível das respostas, eu vi que ela respondeu com carinho, então assim, agradeço profundamente o trabalho da Isabela. Adicionalmente, agradeço aqui a presença dos juízes. O Simon, que veio das Ilhas Cayman, veio um pouquinho de longe para cá, mas está sendo muito, muito bacana. O Simon, a gente estava conversando ontem, ele já participou de diversas finais do Research Challenge, então ele vai trazer uma bagagem de outros setores, outras regiões, outros tipos de empresa. Então, as perguntas vão ser muito ricas, a experiência. A Faiga está aqui, o Fernando Fontoura e o Luiz Ribeiro também, sendo que os 2 últimos já foram juízes no passado, então também vão fazer boas perguntas para vocês. E lembra, Claro, vocês vão estar sendo avaliados, vocês vão estar nervosos, mas tenta tornar esse momento um momento prazeroso, tá? Vocês estão aqui para aprender, para se divertir e passar um pouco de sufoco também, porque faz parte, mas ninguém é bicho-papão aqui. O Research Challenge desse ano, a gente teve mais de 40 equipes, tá? Equipes espalhadas pelo Brasil inteiro, diversas equipes do Sul, Sudeste, Centro-Oeste, Nordeste, tá? A gente contou com mais de 40 professores, mais de 40 faculty advisors, significa que também a gente teve mais de 40 mentores. A gente teve quase 200 estudantes inscritos, então, assim, é um motivo de muito orgulho. O Research Challenge do Brasil é o segundo maior Research Challenge do mundo, tá? A gente só está perdendo para a Índia, que tem 1 bilhão de pessoas, então, sinceramente, é um segundo colocado com muito louvor. Foram 25 graders também avaliando os relatórios de vocês. Eu falo novamente, assim, o feedback que os graders deram é um feedback muito bom. Muita gente falou assim, Gustavo, depois eu quero conhecer eles porque assim, eu senti que colocaram energia. Agora eu vou mudar para o inglês, para o Simon poder participar. We're going to have a very strict timing. There will be 10 minutes of presentation. Again, 10 minutes doesn't mean 10 minutes and 5 seconds. It's 10 minutes and 10 minutes of Q&A. There must be complete silence during the presentation. For instance, let's say the first team is FEA USP, which we're gonna sortear, draw. Only people from FEA USP can be here. If you are not FEA USP, or if you are parent, girlfriend from INSPER, from PUC, you have to leave, okay? If we find out that there is someone from another team in this area, while another team is presenting, that your team is gonna be it's gonna be disclassified and it's gonna become ineligible. So if your mother stays here and you're not presenting, thank to your mother that you're gonna lose because your team is gonna be ineligible. So everyone must leave the presentation unless you belong to the team or you're a family member, friend of that team, okay? There must be complete silence during the presentation. No one can talk during the presentation. No one can talk during the Q&A. And everyone here is bounded by CFA Institute Code of Ethics. So what you hear here during the team's presentation, you cannot say outside, okay? So let's keep stuff confidential. Remember, we're not going to be the judges are not going to be evaluating your English skills. The judges will be evaluating the content, the narrative, the investment case. All teams are in the same situation. All teams are sweating. All teams are very nervous, so don't worry. You've done a good job. In fact, you've done a great job to be here. Your parts are very good. You'll make mistakes during the presentation. And remember, you are here because you deserve. You are here because you've done a good job. So be proud. Be very, very proud to be here. Take pictures, post on LinkedIn, post on Facebook, Instagram, and whatever social network is booming right now. I don't know. Well, have fun. Be proud to be here. We're gonna draw the order of presentations. We have 4 teams that we're gonna draw. And do you guys have any questions? Thanks for being here. Thank you very much.
Ok. Chama o pessoal aí. Vê se todo mundo aí.
Here is a very sophisticated way to draw the order.
Organizar, vamos
We have 4 teams here. Auditing, IBMEC, Rio.
IBMEC Rio tá aí?
IBMEC Rio.
Ah, tá ali. Vamos chamar um por um.
We have PUC Rio,
Tá ali.
which is on the right. We have INSPER. Okay.
Tá ali.
And Poly USP.
Tá ali.
Okay, so we're all here. We have
Vou
these
ajudar aqui.
4 sheets. We're gonna fold it.
Peraí. processo muito...
Yeah, it
Very
is.
sophisticated. Ó, dobrei.
We invested
Ó, não tem nada aqui
$10,000.
dentro. Eu tiro aqui... Não, uma e BMEC. Dobra muito. Mais uma. Esse momento emocionante. O Gustavo escolhe quem vai tirar.
André Tavares, poderia tirar? O CFO da empresa. Olha a responsabilidade.
4 aqui dentro. Vai tirar os 4 e na ordem a gente vai... O primeiro, o segundo, o terceiro e quarto, né?
Exatamente.
Eu não posso falar nada na apresentação,
Pode
só
falar
queria dizer o
Vem
seguinte,
cá.
nós temos Primeiro eu queria agradecer ao CFA Institute por ter escolhido a Anima. Para nós é uma grande honra. Espero aprender muito hoje aqui com vocês. E como a gente tem um programa de recompra de ações, inclusive, se alguém der céu, eu compro. Já queria dizer. Então, muito boa sorte para todos vocês. A gente está muito orgulhoso. Espero aprender muito com vocês aqui hoje, ter bastante insights para o management, para todo o time, para o nosso board, para o nosso management. E boa sorte, boa sorte. Vocês merecem realmente estar aqui. Contem conosco para, inclusive, depois a gente aprender mais sobre a Anima. Obrigado.
Vamos lá. Tirou o primeiro e pode abrir e anunciar quem é o primeiro.
Esse daqui vai ser o primeiro a apresentar.
Basicamente, daqui a pouco. Mostra para todo mundo.
PUC-Rio.
PUC-Rio.
Primeiro, PUC-Rio. Segunda,
Drums. Poli-USP.
Poli-USP. INSPER.
E só para confirmar o último, só para confirmar que vai ter... Mas tá aí mesmo? Para mostrar que tá direito.
Para o auditor, né?
O auditor que está direito.
A Deloitte. Cadê a Deloitte aqui?
IBMEC.
IBMEC. Agora vamos inverter o saquinho.
Nada mais dentro. Bom, obrigado.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. We're Team Book from Rio de Janeiro and going to present our recommendation and analysis on Anima Holding. Our valuation resulted in a target price of 18.98 nominal reais, and our analysis were based on 5 most important pillars for the company. First, the sector and long-term favorable prospects. Secondly, the strong competitive positioning of Anima. Third, the well-aligned governance. Fourth, value creation through performance. And finally, attractive valuation with limited risks. But let's take a step back and talk a little bit about the company. The Anima is an education company that provides tertiary education service mainly with 97,000 students and 91 corresponding to post-secondary education. It has 3.4 thousand professors, and they are mainly with degree of master or doctors, is above the industry average, so it corroborates Anima's high quality. These 97,000 students are spread among 23 cities in 38 campi, and Anima has 4 most important brands. They're very strong regional brands, and they also have 3 vertical brands who provide unique education teaching. So let's start with the first topic. The long-term favorable prospects, we talk about the growth opportunities. First of all, Brazil has only 15% of its population with higher education degree, where there's a clear demand in the market for qualified professionals, as only 2 out of 5 vacancies are filled with qualified workers. When comparing our enrollment rates in the tertiary education, Brazil is way above some comparable countries. We compared with Latin American countries, and we compared to countries that has today an age pyramid similar that Brazil would have 40 years from now. So there's a space to grow, and so does the National Plan for Education, who has a target for 50% of enrollment rate in 2024. These demand are mainly due to sheepskin effect. Brazil is a country who values most education according to HSBC study from 2014. And the effect is widely spread among Brazilians' mentalities as the average income for people who has a degree is higher than the others, and so the unemployment rates are extremely low. Now talking about favorable dynamics, Brazil is passing through a recovery, and GDP per capita is expected to grow at outstanding 7.2 CAGR until 2023, coupled with increasing real incomes and stabilize inflation. Also, we expect a reduction in employment rate, and as this income is really important for the people to buy and invest in education, we think and we can prove that there is a correlation between GDP growth and private on-site enrollment year-over-year, as you can see in this chart. But Frederico, is Anima well positioned to absorb this kind of growth?
The answer is yes. We've already seen that 66% of Anima's students are in either Belo Horizonte or São Paulo, two of the most competitive cities in Brazil. São Paulo, for instance, has more than 600,000 enrollments in private on-site post-secondary and more than 150 private institutions. Anima was able to build a 4% market share in the most fragmented market there is São Paulo, and a 23% market share in Belo Horizonte. But how was the company able to do that? By interviewing more than 300 students, being 50 of them from Anima's institution, we found out the biggest drivers to choose a college are education and location. 60% of them answered they chose their college because of quality or location. If we analyze Anima's quality indexes, we can see that they are well above the market and its peers. IGC, for instance, is above any listed players, and Anadi's grades are even above publics. Even if we analyze Anima's location, 69% of its campi are located within 5 kilometers of the city center. Seeing that, aligned with the strong regional presence of Anima's brands, a superior quality and a strategic location, we can justify Anima's superior average ticket, excluding FIES students, which corroborates our vision that Anima is positioned differently in the market, between the niche and the mass players, and forming big barriers of entrance around it. But none of this would be possible without the management.
Now, talking about the governance pillar, Anima was born from the acquisition of Uni in 2003, when the company was have more debt than sales, and the successful turnaround was successful.
And the manager at the time made a successful turnaround, and the management is still today. The two founders and most relevant founders are still in the Anima nowadays, and they're very experienced with lots of years of experience. We can see também some rational decisions, like Censo project that meant to cut 35 million SG&A until the end of 2018 and are already 95% completed, and the new curriculum competence model that will increase efficiency by reducing the number of classrooms needed. Also, another rational decision was to leave the distance learning model, because not only it has been falling the price since 2012, making it a price war in the sector. There are a lot of competitors entering the last year, which makes more competitive, and it goes against Anima's purpose to change Brazil through education, as distance learning kindly has a lower quality. Another point important for the management is the value creation. Anima would be able to create value to shareholders with the competence model and Censo project, and also with the share repurchase programs that will buy up to 10% of outstanding stocks. Another important fact is the restructuring and transparency by dividing the board and the executive director, with eliminate dual function and avoid conflict of interests, increasing transparency and generate value. And to end, we can see that the original shareholders are still in the company nowadays with almost 50% of the shares, and you can see that high demanding funds almost they gather a lot of stocks from the free float, and they high demand. They are very concerned to stewardship ethics.
Well, now let's talk about numbers. Ânimo's net profits haven't reached yet the level of 2014, when the company was still thriving in the FIES era. But net revenues have been growing. Why have they been growing? The first case, we estimate that 51% is because of the student base. Even excluding acquisitions, organic base has been growing to high ever levels in 2018 after excellent new enrollment process. Even with spending less money in marketing expenses, Ânima has been able to grow its organic student base. With its ticket, it has passed a 60% premium on inflation, and each single year it has been passing faculty costs increase in average ticket. Even with FIES, that provides more profitable students to the college with less costs, dropping in the share base of Ânima, and some bad reflexes already showing in the company's results, as allowance for bad debt is increasing. We can expect Ânima to increase its margins. Why can we expect that? Firstly, we think Ânima is going to continue its incredible receivables days lower than the market, its constrict collection process. And second, we can see that the margins are still pressured by new acquisitions and organic expansion. This is not only pressuring margins, but also key metrics for the sector, such as ROI and ROIC. For last, maturation of new units together with the competence model completely implemented and project sensor fully consolidated, we have a target price for 2019 of a 17% EBITDA margin.
Now talking about the valuation process. We divided valuation into free cash flow to equity, weighted at 80%, and relative valuation EBITDA 20%, reaching a target price of 18.98 nominal reais. We made through a capital asset pricing model, our discount rate adjusted to country risk premium from Brazil. Okay.
We project the number of students in relation to new enrollments at a ratio of 2.7, and the real average ticket of FIES keeping growing only with the inflation, and the ex-FIES ticket growing 2% premium in relation to the inflation. After the normalization of the ex-FIES receivables, after the receivement of the PN 23, we see the normalization again of 60 days of FIES and ex-FIES receivables, and the effective tax rate continuing to be zero due to pro-unis effects. We applied a multiple analysis with EV/EBITDA. That's one of the most important multiples of the sector, and the monthly and the PE multiple, keeping Ânima's premium projecting to the future.
Pessoal. Obrigada. Vocês têm mais 10 minutos para a sessão de Q&A, que pode começar agora.
I'll start then with the first question to you guys. I saw more the case of the long term. I think it was clear for me than the short term part of it. Myself as a portfolio manager, you're selling the company and your work portfolio manager, I need to understand better what are the short term triggers for the company.
Okay.
There are some headwinds that I can see there, like the end of the FIES. Probably the new government will not be so focused on this level of education, but more on the base level. So I see some headwinds, but I don't see the short-term triggers. How do you convince someone to buy this stock in the short term instead of buying another stock like, I don't know, Itaú or Petrobras? Why should I buy it?
Thank you for the question. Before answering, I would like to apologize for any formattation mistakes. We didn't expect that to happen here.
No worries.
Thank you. But answering your question, we are providing you with a solution for a company that has an attractive valuation with highly confidence. We tested on Monte Carlo and sensitivity analysis, and we are 77% sure on the Monte Carlo, and we have more than one sensitivity analysis. So we are providing you with attractive valuation of the sector that has clear drivers, and we've identified them with limited risks, and we are pretty sure about evaluation. In terms of short term, we think that the market has already precified the FIES era, the end of the FIES era, with FIES being 3% of Ânima's new enrollments, and we think Ânima is in a better position to be reprecified in this market.
Okay.
Thank you for the presentation. When you mention growth opportunities and market share and so on and so forth, in education, demographics tends to play a big role. And we know that Brazil is an aging country. So in that sense, there's a demographic tendency for the number of students to diminish as time goes by. How do you see that impacting the opportunity for Anima?
Okay, first of all, I start with the answer and then Federico will complete. That's why we compared enrollment rates in countries that have today age pyramids similar to Brazil age pyramid 40 years from now. So we compare if Brazil reached those 40 years as this expectation tells us, is there room to grow? And we found yes.
Yeah, we can analyze PNS, Plano Nacional de Educação, from Brazil online. They update every single year their goals, and they have a goal to reach 50% of gross enrollment rate. That is the number of people enrolled in higher education divided by the number of population in the right age, that is 18 to 24 years old. And they have the goal of 50%. We have a 34% index right now. So we think even though with the demographics show bad dynamics, we think the gross enrollment rate is going to keep going higher because Brazil still has a long way to grow.
Thanks for the presentation. Congratulations also. I'd like to know more what are the main risks in your view for the projections, especially related to government change, regulation change that can affect your business case and the projections you do.
Okay, thank you. So we have the last slide for the risks. We didn't say, so I'm sorry about that. But responding directly to the government risks, it's obviously that the biggest risk from the government is a pro-uni continuation. Anima has a big effect on its taxes, paying almost a 0% effective tax rate due to pro-unis. Is one of the largest Brazil, let's say, charity financing programs to students. So any changes in these politics can directly impact Anima's.
Another important risk is considered where the boost on margin may not be fully achieved. That is something the company has been saying that they pursue in margin recovery. The government, he said, a ticket premium may not be suitable, and economy and purchase power, treating about all these economic and macroeconomic things we said earlier.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Let me quiz you a little bit more on the margins. So in a lot of education companies, you see very rapid margin expansion until they reach a point where they have to invest in infrastructure and capital, and because the professors and the educators have capacity. So explain to me why you think it's reasonable for a business like this to be able to expand so aggressively without running into capacity constraints and therefore needing extensive capital expenditure, which consumes cash and therefore hurts valuation.
Okay, so if you analyze Anima's CapEx per student, it's been growing constantly, and we think it's a great company in terms of quality. That means the company is constantly worried about the quality of its investment and do investments to keep it better. So why do you think this is going to result in a margin expansion? We think for those two reasons. It's still pressured by the margins of acquisitions and new organic expenses, so that's going to be a driver when the synergies kick in. And we still think that Anima is doing a great job and is going to continue doing a great job in the post-FIES era, better than the other students. If you analyze the recent captations and the recent new enrollment rates in this period that we didn't even include in our evaluation because they were released like 2 weeks ago, we can see Anima performing better than Croton, Stasio, and Ciro, for instance. So we think Anima is better positioned, and we think Anima has everything to expand margins, and indeed without dropping quality on its courses.
Can you get more into details on the multiple part of the valuation? I mean, how do you choose the companies you're comparing it to, and the rationale behind choosing those companies, whether that really makes sense or not?
Okay, sorry. So I think the most important thing in multiple valuations is to have the right multiples for the sector. After analyzing some content, we found out that the most important multiples were EV/EBITDA and PE. Well, we don't think EV/EBITDA it's the best for the sector because Anima's EBITDA is distorted by its low presence on distance learning. Why is that? Because distance learning is an asset light, and then the depreciation is going to be smaller in that. So we applied a percentage to PE because we think the earnings can be more comparable. So we use these two multiples that we think the sector looks better, the sector looks most, and apply the 50% rate. We can see Anima having a premium just because of its, we've talked about its different competitive positioning, its better quality, and also its smaller dependency on distance learning. So we projected this premium to keep going, and projected, we obviously had the net income and the EBITDA for the next years, and then projected the exit multiple and applied the valuation.
And which companies did you use to compare Anima to?
We use Croton, Stas, and Sear. Even though they are not so comparable, like I said, because of the distance learning, we think it's the best measure you can have in the sector.
You did not use any foreign comparable?
We didn't use.
Why not? Rationale behind?
We didn't think they are super comparable in terms of student base and in terms of market development. We think they are in a completely different situation with the FIES volatility recently and the changes in Brazil, and even the gross enrollment rate down. We think it's a completely different dynamics in the education around the country, around the world.
Yeah, all of them depend so much on macroeconomics dynamics. So I don't think it's very much comparable when you take a foreign company to compare to Animas.
Talking about return on invested capital, you showed numbers including goodwill and excluding goodwill. Which number do you think it makes more sense for us to look at, and why?
It's a good question. If we analyze the numbers excluding goodwill, maybe we'll not be seeing the effects of the acquisitions Anima has been doing. We think analyzing ROIC it's better because we can see with goodwill, because we can see the impact of its acquisitions that have been rolling constantly over the years in Anima's return on capital. So if we exclude goodwill, we'll not see if the acquisitions have been generating value or not.
Just talk to me quickly about the organic growth rates. On one of your slides, it looks as though they're seeing 80,000 students incrementally each period. But don't they need to, in order to justify their valuation, doesn't it need to see an increase in the increase each year?
Okay, so if we analyze organic growth rate, we have to take in consideration that the sector has been not favorable by the top-down dynamics. If we analyze it in relation to other companies, they probably don't have the same successful rate as Anima does. So in Brazil, after the FIES, the biggest program was abruptly diminuted in 2014, and the crisis went to the Brazilian economy. We have had hard times on on-site, which is the most of Anima's students, new enrollment rates. So if you analyze Anima in comparison to the market, it is indeed a good rate and is reaching high ever levels while the sector is in the worst time.
Good morning, we are Team Poly, and today we are going to present our investment thesis on Anima Educação.
So, tell me about Anima. What does the company do?
Anima is a company focused on the on-site undergraduate segment with 98,000 students. It presented 1 billion reais in revenues coming mostly from the education business. It operates in 5 states under 4 brands, mainly in the Southeast region. All these brands are distributed in 45 campi, and this altogether sums up to a company 1.3 billion reais market cap that has been underperforming the market.
And do you believe I should invest in Anima?
No, we issue a sell recommendation to Anima with a 12.1 reais target price to the end of 2019 and a downside of 25%. Our thesis is based on 4 main pillars: a tough moment to the sector, a company not ready to face competition, an historic struggle to make key decisions, and weak financials with an overpriced valuation.
Explain me better this first pillar. What is the outlook for the education sector in Brazil?
Firstly, it's important to keep in mind that a university degree is more than a diploma. In Brazil, graduated people have 4 times the salary premium of those at the OECD countries. Besides that, the sector is underpenetrated when we compare it to other countries, and the penetration is still well below the high rates projected by the government for 2024.
So, you are telling me this is an underpenetrated sector with high incentives for the students? Looks good to me. Why is the moment tough?
The sector has a 34 million potential student stock to trigger intakes at universities. However, the biggest barrier to study is income, as average tuition in Brazil represents 63% of household income, and 50% of these students claim they cannot afford that. To overcome this situation, the government tried to foster a public funding program called FIES. However, its fast expansion proved out to be unsustainable. FIES fell in late 2014 and reduced drastically its field seats, impacting companies' base. In our view, private funding is not closing this gap so soon. According to our simulation, a student using a funding program at Animas University had an equivalent discount of 65% in tuition, against 53% at Stassio's and Croton's models, showing their low profitability. But there's still another way to achieve accessibility in education. Now, companies and the government are betting the distance learning segment, which was the main driver for new intakes in the past years due to its lower prices and flexibility.
Okay, I get the scenario is challenging, but is Anima prepared to face it?
Well, Anima positions itself neither as a mass nor as a niche player. It claims its best competitive advantage is to offer high-quality courses for accessible prices. Indeed, if we look at Anima's quality indicators, both for ENAD and IGC metrics, we can see they are ranked among the best between the biggest private educational groups.
Well, it looks to me Anima has got strong competitive advantage, hasn't it?
Actually, the competitive dynamic is not that simple. To better understand it, we divided it in 3 regions. First, looking at São Paulo state, we can see it has the second largest volume of empty seats in Brazil, reaching 64% in its capital. Also, the city's market shares concentrate among big private groups like Unip and Uninove that together comprise more than 30% of the market. So given São Paulo's market size, we traced a 5-kilometer radius to track São Judas competitors, and we found those players to be well located next to subway lines and also close to São Judas Campi. We then analyzed the price versus quality dynamic, and despite São Judas' high quality indicators, we can see they are not reflected into the company's tuition price, both for the 2 most representative courses.
But why is this quality not being reflected in the tuition?
Because São Judas students are more price sensitive. As seen, 54% of São Judas intake in 2017 came from public schools, and 51% adopted some type of funding program. The problem here is that Anima is spending as much as traditional players with professors' academic qualification, and that, combined with an increasing discount policy, ends up leading to lower contribution margins. So wrapping up, São Paulo is a highly competitive site with big local and established players.
Okay, competition in São Paulo is too fierce, but what about Anima's homeland, Minas Gerais?
Anima is better positioned in Minas Gerais than in São Paulo. As you can see, it is able to charge higher prices for its quality there. However, in Belo Horizonte, Minas Gerais capital, Anima has lost market share in recent years due to a saturated and more competitive market. As a response, Anima is starting to expand to the countryside of Minas Gerais, both organically and inorganically. In order to determine the value of these acquisitions, we took a closer look at Alice. In our exercise, we projected Alice reaching an operation similar to Anima's mature units. As you can see, Anima is able to achieve a 24% IRR, but NPV is only 1% of Anima's market cap, demonstrating that these acquisitions generate a low value. To conclude, Minas Gerais will not be a relevant value generation driver for Anima.
What about the last region, the South?
In the south, we have Sociais, an institution acquired by Anima in 2015, which brought a total of 16,000 students to Anima's base. It's important to notice that it was initially the main strategic move for Anima to enter in the DL segment, since it brought 3,400 students that came in with this acquisition to the segment.
And has Anima succeeded?
Not at all. The DL segment was boosted by a softened regulation, but Anima ran away from the price war and discontinued the segment in 2017, announcing their new plan was to focus on blended learning. However, this plan was frustrated by Brazilian regulation, as a course with half of distance classes does not fit as an on-site course nor as a distance course.
And is this a standalone case of bad decision-making?
No, we can see a few others. In 2015, shortly after the big FIES cut, Croton launched its own private funding program and fully implemented their new academic model, while Anima only announced it to its own new academic model in late 2016, having before that spent time setting a JV. Only in 2016, Anima started to restructure its marketing department and launched the Brade, another out-of-core product. Since 2015, Anima claims to be changing its management, but it's clear it's most the same people changing seats.
But has this team been able to generate solid returns for Anima?
Anima has the worst returns in the sector, as shown by their 10% ROIC ex goodwill. Breaking it down, we blame their 7% NOPAT margin, well below its peers. These low margins come since the top line, as Anima's gross margin is 31 percentage points below Croton's, for instance.
Indeed, they are not doing well. But how do you project their future?
We projected the student base assuming the opening of 11 units between 2019 and 21, with a maturation curve of 8 semesters. We also consider that 13 units are currently in maturation. We maintain the historical dropout rate and projected FIAS new enrollments to keep close to current levels. We reach then a student base of 149,000 in 2023. Our model projects the average gross tuition to grow with inflation, while discounts are estimated to remain as 47% of the out-of-pocket gross revenue, resulting in a consolidated net revenue of 1.9 billion in 2023. We estimated the cost of professors per student to reduce in real terms due to the implementation of Anima's new academic model, the E2A. This effect, however, is partially offset by Anima's expansion due to higher cost with rent and students in maturating units. We maintain the sales expense as 7% of net revenues and grew G&A only with inflation, resulting in an EBITDA margin of 23% in 2023.
I got your assumptions, but how is this translated into cash generation?
In the next years, a high expansion capex will impact Anima's free cash flow. However, from 2021 onwards, we expect Anima's FCF to be positive. Meanwhile, leverage will not reach levels above 2018's 2.1 net debt to EBITDA. Entering to our valuation, we projected the free cash flow to equity for the next 10 years. We used a cost of equity of 14.7% and a perpetuity growth rate of 6.5%. We also assumed no fiscal benefits in perpetuity. Our DCF resulted then in a target price at the end of 2019 of 12.1 reais, a downside of 25% from current levels. We also performed a sensitivity analysis on the cost of equity and the perpetuity growth rate that reinforced our recommendation. As a sanity check, our multiples analysis demonstrated that Anima is trading at an unjustified premium to its peers. When we look at the PEG ratio, we can see that growth is no true reason for that premium and that Anima's stock is indeed expensive.
But what if your projections are wrong?
Well, we calculated both a bull and a bear scenario and found in the former a hold recommendation with a 14% upside, and in the latter a strong sell recommendation with 37% of downside. We stressed our model in a Monte Carlo simulation and found 69% of sell recommendations in our 1 million simulations. We also listed some risks that could affect our view, among which we would like to highlight the risk of a more successful organic expansion and the risk of approval to the blended learning model. Checking how those two could affect our valuation, we found a small 3% downside even if they can succeed in both these plans.
Okay, I'm convinced not to buy Anima.
We thank you for watching our presentation. We hope you have enjoyed, and we are ready for questions.
Thank you for the presentation. Let me kick off with one of the slides where you talked about them having the company having margins which were 31 percentage points below some of their peers. If I'm an investor, I might look at that and say, hey, but Anima closes that gap and it's worth a lot more. Explain why you don't think that's realistic.
Okay, go to the professor's academic. No, the appendix. Just a minute to open the slide. As we can see here, we have the mix of professors with master's and a doctorate degree. We can say that Anima has a very good structure with a lot of professors coming with a master or doctorate degree. And as we can see down in the bottom, a professor with that level of specialization is more costly for the company. So Anima has a costly structure to keep its professors, and the company claims its best competitive advantage is to offer these quality courses. So we think the company will keep with this strategy to offer courses with good quality indicators. They will keep those professors that are very well been educated, and we don't think that this gap will close so soon because of that strategy to keep going with this quality.
It is also important to remember that Anima is implementing a new academic model, the E2A, and we expect this academic model to have positive effects on Anima's cost of professors per student. However, at the same time, Anima is expanding. So we have higher cost of rent because, of course, universities, Anima don't own the property, they rent. So if Anima is expanding, it will expand more on the cost of rent. And of course, in a maturating unit, each student costs a bit more to Anima. So this also ends up impacting the costs. At the same time, have a different dynamic going on in the revenue, because as the FIES base graduate, because most of Anima's FIES was from the old FIES, and it is just graduating between 2018, 2019, and at most in 2020, which is why our FIES base reduces to only 4% of Anima's base. And as FIES students don't pay discounts, the discounts, although we maintain them to the out-of-pocket gross revenue as 47%, they will grow more on the consolidated revenue. So because of that, we have an impact on revenue, and that's why margins don't close the gap too much.
Thanks for the presentation. My first question is, why on the long term, the perpetuity, you think ProUni or other kind of fiscal stimulus will not remain for Animas or for the sector?
As you can see, Animas... Put on tax and reconciliation, please. The first one. As you can see, the most of the tax benefits from Anima comes from ProUni. And in 2017, we have an effect of fiscal credit, do a haircut in Anima's INSS debt due to refees. And this generates that Anima's real tax is almost close to zero and sometimes even positive.
So we maintain that for our projected years. So explaining better ProUni. ProUni is a program from the government that basically gives discounts to students of 50 or 100%, and the universities don't have to pay tax rates because of that. So what happens is that ProUni has to be renewed in 2024. However, we did assume it will be renewed, because talking with people from the industry and looking at the Brazilian situation, it would be really difficult for it not to be renewed then. However, we can't assume that for perpetuity this will continue to exist, because if you look for more than 10 years, you can see that the Brazilian GDP will grow, the Brazilian income will grow, and eventually someone will eventually end the program. We can't assume that it will continue forever. However, we do have a sensitivity analysis. We do have a ProUni. Here we have the ProUni and hypothesis if it isn't renewed in 2024, which would generate a great impact on our evaluation. And I think we do have an analysis of what would happen if it isn't in perpetuity. So here we have the perpetuity, and here we have the tax rate in the next years. As you can see, it would only to generate a hold recommendation, that's the yellow, it would need to be 13.6% in perpetuity for the rest of history. So we think it would be too aggressive to assume something like that.
In terms of the price of the stock today, you showed it trades at a huge premium to the other ones. Why do you think that is? Or in other words, what would cause the stock to correct? What would be the triggers for your sell to work, actually?
Well, it is important to note that we do consider that Anima is improving. If you look, we assume their margins to grow a lot, especially the EBITDA margin. We do assume its expansion to happen, but we think that the market is overpaying for all of this. So there is a reason that it is trading at this premium, but the market is exaggerating that. And here, I think.
If we look for the history, what we will see is that there were a lot of expectations about Anima. The stock raised for 30 reais in the late of 2017, based on the expectations that the hybrid model would become more relevant inside the company, that intake would be better, and that margins would improve. We don't think those expectations they are happening in the future, and we think that the market's paying for that again, as it did in the past. So that's why we assume that it will be normal for the stock to convert to previous levels before those expectations.
Talking about your DCF, I see that you have an assumption in perpetuity that CapEx is going to be equal to depreciation and amortization. Do you think this is a fair assumption in an inflationary environment?
Yes, we put CapEx equal to depreciation, but also we have a perpetuity growth rate that it is nominal. So we do consider the inflation in our perpetuity growth. So we assume that it will be growing with inflation, yes.
One more question from me. One of your slides talked about the competition, and you talked about them being in prime locations and the challenge, therefore, to expand. Doesn't that lead to the scenario where the best way to grow in this business is to acquire? Is this company an acquisition target, or is it an acquirer, and what does that mean for evaluation?
Yes, the company strategy now, mainly in the countryside of Minas Gerais, which is the state of Una and UniBH brands, their strategy is to acquire local and strong brands to implement Una and UniBH names in those companies, in those education companies, and to expand throughout the countryside of the state because, as we said, Belo Horizonte's market, which is the capital of Minas Gerais, is already consolidated. What we try to do here is to see if those small acquisitions, that is approximately 2 or 3 acquisitions every year, would generate a true impact to the company's stock. So we assumed some numbers when the company published Ali's numbers when it acquired it in 2015. We did a small model of this DCF to see if this could generate value for the company. And what we saw here is that the company is able to achieve a good IRR. However, the NPV impact on Anima's overall valuation is small for the number of those acquisitions. So we think if the company wants to maybe increase its value in the short and in the middle term, it could target bolder acquisitions in greater cities because Bom Espaço, for instance, is a small city in the countryside of Minas Gerais.
We also performed an analysis if one of the other 3 big players of Brazil acquiring Anima. So, first of all, we have to look at CADE. In the past years, CADE has denied the merge of Croton and Estácio due to the high concentration in small cities. And as our analysis showed, the transaction between Anima and one of the other big players will be denied, in exception to SERS, because the concentration in the Belo Horizonte city will be too high. Also, if you look in accretion dilution analysis, we can see that don't make much sense for the big players to buy Animas. Due to its big multiples, it will be...
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming. We're the INSPIR team. Today, we're here to tell you a story about the 6th largest higher education company in Brazil, which has as its value proposition to improve the country through education. Anima pursues quality to differentiate itself from mass players, has gained market share throughout the years with the industry always in its favor, and now, with its margins below every other listed player, it is filled with optimistic margin turnaround expectations. However, Anima hasn't been paying attention to class. In an unfavorable environment, vulnerable to a tougher competitive scenario, we do not believe the company will live up to such expectations. For these reasons, we issue a sell recommendation on Anima Educação with the target price of 13 Brazilian reais and 60 cents, representing a downside of 16.7% from October 21st. To begin, let Igor present us the company.
Founded in 2003, Anima has 1.8% market share. Higher education constitutes its main segment, with 4 brands and 100,000 students spread in 37 campuses, representing 94% of revenues. And representing only 6%, Anima also keeps its educational verticals, such as law, gastronomy, and civic education.
In a context of great industry dynamics, the company has grown considerably over the past few years, having an enrollment CAGR of 15.4% from 2010 to 2017.
Nevertheless, tides have changed. Since 2014, there has been a reduction in the number of public student loans offered, setting a whole new context for the higher education industry.
The reduction of public student loans set place for a rise in out-of-pocket students that, combined with unemployment at historical highs, have made affordability a main hurdle to the industry. But even if unemployment eases down, other trends will make it difficult for the higher education segment to still grow.
Stagnant high school graduations, combined with the evolution of Brazilian demographics, pressure total addressable market in the long term. Also, during public student loans bonanza, ticket price inflated, driving the interest of new players. Now, with the outplay of fees, tickets are experiencing a downward trend due to a stronger competition.
In this scenario, distance learning was the only benefit segment on account of average net tickets being 60% lower than on campus. Now, this segment is driving the growth of the industry, and, opposed to this trend, Anima's management decided to discontinue its operations in 2017, making it the only listed company not positioned to capture this growth.
In spite of all this, the company will still grow. Yumi, how is this to happen in an unfavorable environment? Is the company positioned under strong competitive advantages?
To better understand its local competitive advantages, we analyze its most relevant operations.
We begin with Belo Horizonte, Anima's initial operating city, where it manages UNA and UniBH, accounting for 40% of its student base and being the market leader. However, we believe these brands lack competitive advantages for two main reasons. First, while Anima presents higher quality indicators, it stands behind its competitors when accounting for the percentage of students who chose their institution based on quality. Second, Anima practices higher tickets on average, even though it has lower employability potential. This has been leading to a loss of market share in the past few years, putting the company's market leader position at risk.
In São Paulo, Anima operates through the São Judas brand, which faces the toughest competitive scenario, where tickets are lower and pricing pressure stronger. As location is one of the most relevant decision factors for students, we see competitors such as FMU and Unip better positioned, having more than twice the number of São Judas campuses spread throughout the city. In this scenario, Anima is far from being market leader and has not gained market share in the past year.
Okay, so you're telling me that the company has lost market share in its most relevant regions. But Kyle, how exactly is this relevant?
Well, to demystify competition, the loss of market share can be a strategic move. However, when combining this with the company's ROIC position going from best to worst when compared to its peers, highlights Anima's lack of competitive advantages, putting the company in a vulnerable position.
So, Ralph, with poor competitive advantages, how will Anima grow after all?
After acquiring local institutions, the company consolidated its branding power within capitals, to only then forgo its expansions towards the countryside. In the following years, Anima should open 19 campuses, 51% more than it currently has.
With the company expecting 3,000 students per countryside campus, we saw the need to conduct a market analysis of these 11 cities. The first outcome was, the company seems to be facing a limited number of potential students in at least 7 of its 11 countryside campuses. The second was, distance learning reaches 40 to 6% penetration in some of the cities, highlighting the fact that it comes as a relevant substitute product track to on-campus courses. Case in point, Anima's countryside campuses should face a limited and rivals market.
Are you saying that the company's strategy to allocate capital in expansion will hurt its performance?
According to our analysis, Anima's countryside campuses should suffer pressure on tickets and class size ratios, which will reflect on an operational margin gap of 400 basis points when compared to current campuses.
So what are we trying to prove?
Anima has maintained its position as the least profitable company over the listed ones, having apparently lots of space for improvement. Despite its revenues growing slightly above expectations, its margins will fall short, and Anima shouldn't be expected to deliver a turnaround potential in the short term, contrary to what the market expects. This should reflect in EPS results being delivered way below consensus.
Now, we do not hesitate to ask, would you invest in a company that is looking for expansion in a stagnant and rivalrous industry with unclear competitive advantages and a doubtful margin turnaround potential? Is it possibly overvalued?
Given the importance of the countryside expansion to Anima in the long term, we show you our one campus DCF conclusions. We estimate 6 million Brazilian reais in initial infrastructure investments and 3,000 students at maturity, which should come on the 5th year, necessary time for all courses to graduate at least one class. As a result, expansion campuses generate value for Anima. Reporting an internal rate of return higher than the cost of capital. Yet, even considering 19 campuses being open, it is not enough to drive an upside.
Our valuation expects a 6% CAGR for enrollments in the next 10 years, and due to stronger competition, monthly tuition should adjust 2 percentage points below inflation, resulting in revenues CAGR of 8%.
Now, our projections incorporate a lower margin for Unima in the short term, but in the long term, we understand that there should be room for some relief. First, maturation of new campuses and partial implementation of the new academic model should reduce COGS and deliver a better gross margin. Second, there will be dilution of G&A expenses with its larger student base, improving EBITDA margin.
We also highlight that Unima is exempt of paying taxes as a benefit of ProUni. Having said that, we valued Unima using a 10-year free cash flow to equity model that reflects both the expansion and the maturation of the company. To discount these cash flows, we considered a cost of equity of 13.4% and estimated a 4% growth at perpetuity. Therefore, arrive at a target price of 13.60 Brazilian reais, implying on a 16.7% downside, reiterating our sell recommendation on Unima Educação.
Yumi, what can we infer from our multiples analysis?
First, we use other Brazilian higher education companies' 2019 price-to-earnings multiples. Doing so, we arrive at an even larger downside potential than our DCF. But, as potential earnings growth could be masking this analysis, we have cited the company's one-year EPS growth with RPEs. Our projections do imply revenues growth, but being consistent with our financial analysis, it is hard to believe in such margin turnaround. Thus, we estimate 29% EPS growth for this period, 10 percentage points below consensus. In short, we notice the market's paying too much for something considered by us unachievable.
At this point, we would like to highlight the most important risks to our investment thesis, based on impacts and probabilities.
First, we believe one of the main risks to our target price is a strong reduction of equity costs. In our bull case scenario, we incorporate 20% increase in Unima's class size and also less competition. With this, the stock should reflect a 7.4% upside, and Unima would be, at most, a neutral recommendation.
In addition, change in the expansion strategy could also alter our target price. In a sensitive analysis, however, we conclude there would only be upside when doubling the units for expansion, which seems like an arduous task.
Ralph, do our numbers add up?
In our Monte Carlo analysis, we see downside potential in 55% of the times, in line with our valuation.
Finally, due to an unfavorable environment and lack of competitive advantages, the company won't be heading towards great margin turnaround. In conclusion, we see the market overestimating Unima's future, and for that, we believe it is not a worthy investment. Reiterating our recommendation. Now, we welcome your questions.
Okay, so my first question is regarding margins. I saw that the biggest difference between you guys and consensus is really on margins, right? Your growth is even a bit higher than consensus. What are the main differences? In other words, what explains this difference in margins? Why is consensus so positive? What is driving this difference in margins between you guys and consensus?
Okay. The main point of difference between our beliefs and the market consensus is its margins, mainly due to 2 points. The first one is because we are estimating a gap of operational margin in the cities that Unima is going to with its expansion plan. So we see the scenario being more competitive to Unima. And we conducted a demand analysis that we concluded that there was a limited addressable market for Unima in these cities in the countryside. So we see the company having difficulties to improve its class size in the cities. And that would be a very important trigger to the margins for the market consensus. So I think the most important point is the expansion plan of the company.
To conclude, there's going to be also operational margin gap in the beginning of the period for expansion, because the campus it takes 5 years to mature a new campus, and you leave a negative operational margin in the beginning. That's why we, in the short term, we believe the margins will be lower than the consensus.
I'd like to talk about the one campus DCF that you ran, the sensitivity analysis to the opening of a campus. I would like to understand, since Anima is positioned as a premium or more premium company or a provider than the other players, why did you choose the assumption for the initial ticket at a level that is much lower than what Anima has in its best campuses?
Well, as we said in our study for the addressable market in the countryside, we see that the demand is restricted, and also we see that the average income in those cities are lower than in capitals. So we estimate just 100 Brazilian reais lower than the average ticket that Anima practices on average.
Thanks for the presentation. What would you recommend for Anima's management to change in the strategy to try to change this route of a self-recommendation?
Well, we believe that the company could maybe restructure its cost structure, and that would be a very big move for the company, but maybe it could relieve a bit margins.
The cost we mentioned is the faculty costs. The Anima is the company that spends the most in terms of percent of revenues in faculty. So if it changes the kind of payment or the kind of professor that it hires, it could be a trigger for a better implementation of margins.
Let me pose a question to you. One of the things one of you said during your recommendation was that this was a stagnant industry. Is your issue with the company that you think the industry itself is not something that is worth investing in, or is your issue with the company that it's just overpriced, the valuation currently? Where fundamentally are you worried about? Is it the valuation or is it an industry issue?
First, it's an industry issue. For Anima and for the other listed companies, you have to look at the high school graduations. And on this high school graduation are stagnant for around 10 years. And that's a hush. And also, if you look at Brazilian demographics, the target population between 24 years, it's getting restricted, it's slowing. So now we see the addressable market diminishing, getting lower. So that's why we see it's an industry issue. And it will affect not only Anima, but also the other listed companies.
But to add on to that, we believe that the Brazilian market is not highly penetrated, so it could maybe penetrate a bit more. But we see the government with some kind of problems with expenditure right now with the fiscal crisis, and probably in the next 5 years there won't be much investments in education as they need to resolve this crisis.
So I just want to push back a bit on that, because globally, in countries with worse demographics, you're seeing a higher level of people going to universities and going to get degrees. So why is Brazil unique in that scenario? Why would Brazil, despite having better demographics than a lot of European countries, have such a stagnant general industry?
Well, I think it goes exactly with this point of public expenditure in education, because when basic education is not doesn't have much quality, it's difficult for students to get into higher education. And with the government not investing in this, it's harder to penetrate more. It's harder to get more students to do basic education and to pass to high schools, higher education.
Just to add on, for example, United States has a more penetrated market and more incentive on student loans. In Brazil, we have a reduced student loans. So here it's getting harder to penetrate.
A little bit on the multiple comparison. Could you get more into detail on that? I mean, which are the I saw you chose only local companies, right? Why was that? I mean, why not looking at international companies as well? Since in the long term, the market tends to be more similar, I would say, to other markets as well.
We see higher education in Brazil being not completely, but a lot different from other countries, mainly due to public student loans, mainly due to affordability. So we try to use the similar companies to compare multiples, as other companies may invest in different countries with different public investments on education, and that would lead to if we use average mean, the mean for multiples, we could be misled. So we used every one of Brazil's multiples companies to compare it with Anima.
Yes, being clear, our multiple analysis would be totally focused on Brazil. So if you look, for example, to Tallinn or Laurea, there are listed companies outside. They have mixed operations. So some of it are on Brazil and some of it are on the United States. So the operation on the United States is pretty different. So it will mislead our target price.
Talking a little bit about cost of equity, I see that you chose to use a beta of 0.8 to arrive at a cost of equity of 13.4%. How did you arrive at this 0.8, and do you think that that number accurately reflects the risk of the investment?
For that beta, we use the other Brazilian companies betas compared to the S&P and brought back to Brazil and estimated the beta. We think it's a beta that recommends the investment, that reiterates the risk, because the higher education industry, in spite of being stagnant, it is something that everyone should invest. Everyone will do. It's not going to be a distinguishing market. So this will leave lower risks than a beta of 1, for instance.
Okay, one more question from me then. One of your slides talked about the return on invested capital falling, I forget the exact numbers, but from a fairly high number to 35% to 11. How much of that is because they've pre-invested in new campuses? Explain to me what the mechanics of that is, because I look at that and say, well, if they've done a lot of capex and therefore they've got a lot of capital on their balance sheet, that's a huge opportunity for shareholders because that's already funded, and therefore there's big expansion opportunities pre-funded. So explain to me why that's wrong.
We use that ROIC to compare its competitive advantages. When we see market share distinguishing and also ROIC distinguishing, we see that the company does not generate value with its invested capital. The invested capital that went from 36 to 11 was mainly due to invested capital in acquisitions and in DL. But as their investment did not return the expected earnings and expected return, did not yield the expected return, we see that the company are not being able to operate well these new acquisitions.
Thank you. Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Pedro Guerra, and they are José Silva and Felipe Zay. We are representing IBMEC here, and today we're going to talk about Anima. To begin our presentation, Felipe is going to talk about company overview.
The company has more than 15 years of experience with 8 brands, more than 1,000 students in 5 different states. It's very interesting to notice that they are located in some of the wealthiest states in Brazil. Anima chose the best choice approach, so the price is a little bit higher, but they are focused on quality and still maintain a decent scale. That's very interesting also to notice that they're achieving really good returns on what they're doing. If you look at the student side, Anima have a great return if you put the net notes and compare with the price. Also, people choose Anima more because of the quality against the average on the industry. Anima expansion strategies is buy reference universities, then integrate with Anima system, then expand with new courses, and can grow beyond big cities. Also, Anima is located on the highest governance company level, the Novo Mercado. Also, the board is very experienced and delivering great results in the long run. Now Pedro will talk about industry overview.
Okay, to begin with, it's important to say that there is a positive correlation between enrollments and GDP. which means that companies are exposed to economic downturns. And it's because many of its students need to gain wages in order to pay tuitions. It's worth mentioning either that in Brazil, people had huge incentives to get a college degree. Research shows that people with higher education earns more than twice than people with just high school, and unemployment rate is on average lower. In comparison to other OECD countries, low percentage of people, Brazil population have tertiary education, and these people are those who on average earn bigger salaries. Companies are still adapting to a new reality. Between 2010 and 2014, companies took a lot of advantage of FIES expansion, which is a governmental financial program, and it contributed to better margins. But then, in 2015, the steep reduction observed in the program harmed the industry. By now, in recent years, we have been observing a slowdown in demand, and long-distance courses are becoming more relevant in Brazil. Despite that, universities still suffers from high dropout rates. 2018 has been a tough year for the sector. The main companies have been underperforming in comparison to IBOV, which is a consequence of the FIES reduction and the less favorable macroeconomic scenario. So companies are still learning how to deal with that, and a good management is indispensable. Going to our investment thesis, first of all, companies are still adapting to this reduction in FIES. Second, gains of efficiency are Anima's biggest driver, but we think that in the short term, there are factors that put some ceiling on how this growth can be. The sector consolidation is still underway, but there are less good opportunities for acquisitions, so this might not be the best sector to surf an economic recovery. All this together contributed us to give a neutral recommendation. Now, José is going to talk about our valuation model.
Going over the financials, that actually enhances our neutral position. We see that, first and foremost, we need to talk about margins. Anima's margins are the company's biggest weakness, especially when compared to its competitors. And we can come up to a list of reasons for that. First is the difficult macroeconomic environment, which led these companies to increase their discount policy over the last few years due to decreasing demands and high sector competition. A negative impact from more recent acquisitions, which are much more inefficient, and it weighs on the overall results of the company. And the absence from the distance learning markets, which by nature has higher margins. And also the lower FIES penetration, since FIES students have higher ticket prices because they're not able to get other discounts and scholarships. But in another aspect, Anima is actually a lot better than its competitors, which is lower delinquency ratios and lower provisions for doubtful accounts because of Anima's focus on quality. In the model, we projected three different scenarios. In a base case, we see a gradual margin recovery as low but consistent economic growth, FIES for about 200,000 new contracts per year, and 100% pass-through of inflation to net ticket prices. In a bull case, we see a more rapid margin increase, a slightly better macroeconomic conditions. In a bear case, we see a limited recovery in margins due to a more difficult macro environment and increased sector competitions. In a volume projection, we see a continuous reduction in FIES penetration and a student base growing at a compounded average of 5.8% based on not only demographics, but also the company organic expansion plan. The company wants to double its capacity in 10 years. In a price projection, as I said, we only project price to increase inflation. And we see a gradual recovery of margins and also a reduction of the gap between Anima's units. But although UniBH margins are probably unachievable because it's justified based on a different mix of courses. UniBH has a higher percentage of medicine students. And the company is pretty close to achieving its goal to save 35 million in G&A by eliminating some redundancies. And there is a task force at sociais to increase its efficiency. They are having problem with students to class ratio, which is 21, when Anima is average is 35. Besides, there is also the introduction of hybrid courses, which is a mix of presential and online classes, which can lead to a reduction of costs. For CapEx, we see an increase this year based on the acquisition of Suzuki, and then a stabilization around 6 or 7% in the next few years. As for working capital, we see a normalization already this year based on the scheduled payments of FIES receivables. For margins, we see a decent room for improvements in the next few years, but the risks are actually tilted to the downside. For WACC, we calculated the cost of equity based in nominal dollars, based on CAPM, and also adding a liquidity premium of 0.5%. And cost of that, we use a tax rate of 0% because we preferred a more cautious approach since we couldn't precisely estimate the tax rate for the sector. Since the animal has very low debt, it wouldn't make such a difference. And in a cash flow model, we also use a real terminal growth of 0.5% on top of 4% inflation, and came up to a price target of 22 reais, with a terminal value contribution of 63%. But in spite of a potential upside of 35%, we couldn't actually recommend buying the company because of downside risk of 30%. Using sensitivity analysis, we see that the price of the company is actually pretty sensitive to EPS growth and target PE ratio for next year. And since our estimate for earnings next year is a little bit above consensus, there is some downside risk there.
Okay, now I'm going to talk the main risks to our position. First of all, a further macroeconomic deterioration. Brazil have been facing a lot of macroeconomic problems, and so some reforms are needed. If the economic recovery doesn't fulfill expectations, unemployment rate would still be high, and out-of-pocket students would not be able to get enrolled in private courses. Second, a continuous increase in competition and a bigger than expected cut in FIES could pressure margins lower. Talking about margins, we project a gradual recovery until 2021. If margins recover faster than we expect, our neutral position would be outdated. And fourth place, private financing programs. We do not anticipate a change in these financing programs, what could represent an upside risk to our recommendation. Thanks a lot for your attention, and now we're ready to answer your questions.
Well, thank you. My first question is regarding the recommendation, actually. It seems to me that the worst is behind us in terms of the macroeconomic picture. I think everybody expects a better picture for next year. When I look at GDP forecasts for next year, they look better than they are right now. It seems also that the FIES problems are behind us already. And this is probably a sector that is very leveraged towards an economic recovery too. So, and when I look at the 35% upside that you have in your base case, it looks to me quite good. I mean, why not change it to a buy? I mean, what is the main reason why this is not a buy? Or in other words, what would make you change this into a buy at this point of the economic cycle?
Yeah, okay. Companies are actually less exposure to FIES, it's right, and we know that, but the macroeconomic deterioration still makes us a little bit uncomfortable, and we are not certain that it's the best choice to surf this economic recovery. Although they are less exposure to FIES, they are still significant, and in our base case, we count with roughly 2,000 contracts of FIES per year, and if it's below that in actual terms, it would be bad it would represent a downside risk for us. So our neutral recommendation is based on that.
Also, competition in the sector is very fierce. So, and also, the sector is the sector drives the job market, and it usually has a lag on economic recovery. So it might not recover at the same time.
And what would make you more positive? I mean, what needs to change for you to become positive, for this to become a buy? In other words, what should I
Mostly-
monitor if I'm looking at the company?
Mostly the evolution of margins, and on a macroeconomic base would be the reforms.
Yeah, the spending limit approved on 2016 gives us some relief, but it's far away to be sufficient. So it would represent an upside risk for us, and it would change our recommendation to a buy.
In the beginning of the presentation, you run a margin comparison to other listed players, a comparison of EBITDA margins between Anima and the other players. I think it's a little earlier than that, a little before that. Is that comparison fair? Are the business is Anima comparable to the other education companies, since Anima is not in the distance learning segment anymore?
No, not really. That's why it was one of the topics. We think that Anima's margins shouldn't be what they are right now, but not also the same as Croton and Stasso, which has a higher percentage of distance learning segments.
You told that in the base case scenarios, you expect the Anima could have the tickets with corrected by 100% inflation each year. How has this been in the last years? Is this what Anima is actually doing?
The last few years, it wasn't the case because of the economic recession, and companies had to give higher discounts because of the competition and decreasing demand, so they couldn't actually have a 100% pass-through of inflation.
Okay, let me go back to margins, just because everyone else has talked about them. Just give us some more analysis then on why margins, how margins could change either positively or negatively. What are the either economic or company specific factors to talk about the details as to what will change the margins? Because you've highlighted that as the biggest, I think one of your slides said it, that's the biggest factor in terms of valuation for this company. So just talk to me a little bit more about that.
I think the main factor would be the hybrid courses. They are a mix of presential and online classes, and right now they can only use 20% of online content. But in the next few years, there is a possibility of that changing in regulation, and they could use more than 20%, and that could reduce significantly the margin, the cost of the company, because you don't have to can reutilize the same material, can put different students of different classes in the same exact class without additional costs. And in the macroeconomic environment will be the reforms, starting with the pension reform, that could make the country more
favorable to the sector.
And then one of the other slides you had talked about Anima having the best brand in terms of quality perception amongst students. People are using it, I think 40% are using the company because of the perceived quality of their education standard. Isn't that something that will allow Anima to have pricing power in the market and potentially increase its prices, thereby increasing margins? Doesn't that offer an opportunity for the company and therefore for investors?
Yeah, but despite that, we still in Brazil have a high unemployment rate, and it certainly is a problem. Because in Brazil, many students, even though part of those they're studying on Anima universities, depends on their own jobs in order to pay tuitions. So if you do not have a lower unemployment rate, it would still be a problem in this side.
What's your opinion about Anima's decision not to be in the distance learning market?
I think it was a great decision because the distance learning market is very fierce and they need to lower the price a lot because the elasticity, people choose more because of the price than the quality, and since the goal is to achieve a great quality, it's not good for them in the long run.
following up on her question, but isn't that a very scalable model? So even though there's a large price competition, there can be a lot of cost dilution in this business, and therefore it's much more scalable even to a big country such as Brazil.
Yeah, you can use more scale, but it has some troubles because of the quality of the studies. Because you can, with the long run, you cannot change a lot the price between precision, people who go to the university, and people who do online, because in the end they have the same diploma for the university. So they can cause some troubles if you're looking a lot of in terms of quality, because you can prove a lot way more your experience of the students in the class and not on the distance.
How successful has been the company in terms of improving the companies they have been acquiring? I mean, usually they have this high margin proposition with higher quality, and they have to implement that once they acquire another company. How successful have they been in that process?
In general, they have been very successful, especially if you, for example, if you look at the first one, the first university that they buy was UNA in the start, and now UNA is the best university central in Minas Gerais with the ICG notes. UNA is the best center in Minas Gerais with the ICG node. Also, they're improving the NID nodes in all the universities that they bought. So we think that's help a lot.
Is that a source of potential upside, or you have that in your numbers already, the acquisitions and the improvement in margins? Or is that a source of additional upside on what you have already?
Improvement margin is actually input in the model. We just don't expect another acquisition, just projected organic growth.
A question regarding the calculation of cost of equity and weighted average of cost of capital. You mentioned that you have some trouble estimating a tax rate to input into the cost of debt, but on the other hand, you do have an estimation for tax rate in the DCF itself. So why the difference between the two?
No, that's in the income statement. We use some form of tax rate, but to discount every cash flow, we didn't exactly use the same tax rate every year. We use a increase each year to about, I think, was 10%, and so we couldn't actually didn't find it possible to use one to discount every cash flow the same.
Pessoal, bom dia, obrigado por esperar. O que a gente vai fazer agora é o seguinte: eu vou pedir para cada uma das quatro times irem lá, tirar foto com o seu Fact Advisor. As fotos a gente vai tirar na ordem da apresentação, tá? Primeira, segunda, terceira e quarta equipe que fez a apresentação na ordem cronológica. Depois a gente vai fazer uma foto geral com todas as quatro equipes. Tá? Em seguida, a gente vai abrir para o André Tavares, CFO da Anima, falar algumas coisinhas, as impressões dele. A gente abre também para os juízes darem um feedback para vocês. E, por último, a gente anuncia o vencedor, né? Anuncia a ordem da competição. E a gente também vai distribuir os certificados de participação. Tá? Primeiro, a professora Nazaré, o André Gutierrez, da PUC Rio, Frederico Coelho, Matheus Liberato e Matheus Lima Brito. Vitor Borges, por último. André? Frederico? Matheus Liberato? Matheus Lima Brito? Vitor Borges. Obrigado, pessoal. Uma salva de palmas. Agora eu vou pedir para a segunda equipe, na ordem de apresentação, para ir lá, para a gente tirar a foto e fazer a apresentação. A pole, o professor Eric Rego. A gente vai tem o aluno Arnaldo Cima, Breno Venturi, Guilherme Polho, Marcelo Hamburger, Nicolas Mardegan. Obrigado. Aqui, Breno, Guilherme Polho, Marcelo Hamburger e Nicolas. Obrigado. Vamos tirar a foto, por favor. Obrigado, pessoal. Em seguida, o INSPER, representado pelo professor Michel Araújo, aluno Caio Kimura, Caroline Atadaine, Igor Vitalino, Laura, não sei falar. Como é que é, Laura? Verhanen. E Rafael Prado. Michel, obrigado. Caio Kimura. Caroline. Vitor. Laura. E Rafael. Obrigado. Excelente, obrigado, pessoal. A última equipe que apresentou hoje, a parte da manhã, é o IBMEC Rio. Eu vou chamar o professor Alexandre Espírito Santo, Felipe Zayen, José Carlos da Silva Júnior e Pedro Guerra. Obrigado, pessoal. Agora eu vou pedir para todas as equipes descerem com seus respectivos professores para a gente tirar uma foto com todo mundo. Não, fica com o pessoal do início. Mas agora. Não adianta mais agora, Michel. Parabéns. Por último, eu gostaria que os Faculty Advisors ficassem aqui para a gente tirar uma foto só dos Faculty Advisors. Encerrada a sessão de fotos, de todas as maneiras possíveis. Agora eu vou passar a palavra para o CFO da Anima, que nos deu o prazer de estar aqui num sábado, André Tavares, para ele falar fazer os comentários que achar relevante. E eu agradeço muito pela sua presença, pela dedicação de toda a sua equipe, que é um trabalho voluntário, que toma tempo, toma bastante tempo, e mesmo assim vocês estavam lá comparecendo e estão comparecendo aqui. Obrigado. Muito obrigado.
Bom, eu vou ser bastante breve, porque eu acho que é um grande risco qualquer pessoa querer falar e ficar entre vocês e o resultado. O que eu gostaria de dizer é o seguinte: eu fiquei bastante impressionado com a qualidade e a profundidade das apresentações, especialmente se a gente está falando de apresentações que foram conduzidas por futuros profissionais, por pessoas que ainda não estão totalmente formados, né? Estão num processo de formação, e fiquei muito orgulhoso do que vi aqui. Como nós somos uma empresa de educação, nós já somos muito acostumados com a liberdade acadêmica, a liberdade do contraditório. Então, principalmente quem colocou céu, eu discordei de 95% dos argumentos, mas faz parte da vida, a gente é super acostumado assim. Não seríamos se não fôssemos uma empresa de educação, especialmente uma empresa de higher education. Eu gostaria de parabenizar muito todos os estudantes. Gostaria de parabenizar especialmente os faculty advisors, os professores. A gente tem algumas convicções na Anima que se mostram, inclusive nos nossos números. A gente acredita que, sem dúvida, isso é muito forte na Anima. A gente acredita claramente que o aluno é o centro do processo de ensino e aprendizagem. E isso se materializa, inclusive, num dos nossos princípios, que é nossos filhos estudam nas nossas escolas. Eu sempre me pergunto se o dono do restaurante leva a família para comer no restaurante dele. Eu sempre me pergunto se o dono da companhia aérea embarca a família dele nos aviões dele. Então, nós temos como um dos nossos princípios, apesar de nossos filhos, lógico, terem liberdade, mas de estarmos tranquilos como pais para nossos filhos estudarem nas nossas escolas. E uma convicção que a gente tem é que o aluno é o centro desse processo, mas o professor é a sua grande inspiração e o seu grande modelo. Isso, inclusive, se reflete no nosso custo operacional. Os nossos professores, como vocês bem sabem. Então, a gente acredita muito nesse modelo e o quanto esse modelo é sustentável, de o professor, não no centro, mas como principal inspiração do processo. Eu gostaria realmente de parabenizar vocês por tudo que vi aqui, parabenizar a organização do CFA. Nós estamos muito orgulhosos de estarmos aqui presentes e sempre contem conosco para apoiar iniciativas como essas, né? Espero muito e vamos trabalhar, inclusive, fortemente para isso, para que no próximo ano nós tenhamos equipes das nossas instituições também aqui, nos finalistas, né? Equipes da São Judas, equipe do UniBH. Tenho certeza que eles também poderão fazer um papel tão honroso quanto o papel que vocês estão fazendo aqui, valorizando o nome das instituições às quais vocês estudam. Tá? Parabéns, continuem nesse caminho, nessa pegada, bem orientados pelos professores, como eu vi aqui. E, logicamente, quando vocês encherem o saco das instituições que vocês tiverem, vocês lembram que MBAs e pós-graduações vocês podem fazer na Anima também, em uma instituição da Anima. Muito obrigado e boa tarde a todos.
Obrigado pelas palavras. Agora eu vou passar daqui a um minutinho as palavras para os juízes para darem feedback. Mas antes disso, eu quero lembrar para vocês, vou repetir o que eu disse, vocês têm que estar muito orgulhosos de estarem aqui. Tá? Vocês foram finalistas de uma competição nacional, muito maior do que uma competição que a gente enxerga no Canadá, Estados Unidos, França, Alemanha, Inglaterra. Vocês são diferentes, vocês são especiais. Tenho muito orgulho de onde vocês chegaram. E conversando aqui com os juízes, as apresentações foram muito boas. E conversando com os graders também, os graders voluntariamente deram feedbacks muito positivos dos relatórios que vocês produziram. Então, eu queria primeiro pedir uma salva de palmas a vocês mesmos pelo trabalho fantástico que vocês fizeram. Então, agora eu vou passar a palavra para os judges para comentarem as apresentações que foram feitas aqui hoje, antes da gente anunciar o vencedor, o segundo colocado, o terceiro e quarto.
Pode falar aqui?
Pode falar daí. Até seria interessante se vocês pudessem falar durante 5 segundinhos o background de vocês. Cargo, quando começou no mercado financeiro, como é que foi esse início, até para servir de inspiração para essa garotada aqui que está almejando ser um analista, ser um PM.
Ou não, né?
Ou não, né?
Bom, eu estou nesse negócio há pouco tempo, só 25 anos de mercado, então já faz um tempinho. E, obviamente, esse tempo todo é porque eu gosto muito, realmente, adoro o que eu faço. Acho que a coisa mais importante na vida de vocês, que são jovens, é fazer o que vocês gostam, né? A recomendação principal é essa, né? Fazer aquilo que vocês gostam, aquilo que vocês têm paixão. Senão a gente não consegue levar para frente a vida, né? Que já é dura em si. Então, eu gosto muito do que eu faço, estou fazendo isso há 25 anos. E meu trabalho realmente é esse, assistir analistas que vêm a mim com ideias como vocês vieram. Então, boa parte do meu tempo eu gasto falando com analistas, com profissionais, com pessoas que fazem esse tipo de análise que vocês fizeram. O que eu posso dizer é que o nível que vocês apresentam realmente é incrível. Eu faço isso, participo desse painel, acho que é a 4ª ou 5ª vez que eu venho aqui já, e sempre fico impressionado com a qualidade. É realmente impressionante para quem vive nesse business, para quem faz isso. É realmente muito boa a qualidade daquilo que vocês apresentam. Todas as equipes aqui apresentaram muito bem. Nós aqui tivemos uma discussão grande para achar as diferenças e tentar achar um vencedor. Dos anos que eu participei, como eu disse, já o 4º ou 5º, esse foi o mais difícil. Assim, a diferença foi mínima, muito pequena. E é claro que meu relatório escrito conta, mas a diferença hoje foi muito pequena. Foi questão de poucos pontos mesmo. Então, foi um hard discussion aqui entre a gente. E o que eu posso desejar é desejar a vocês toda a sorte na carreira, né, para aqueles que querem seguir essa carreira. Acho que começaram muito bem, a gente sempre leva em conta quem participou desse evento. Se vier um dia encontrar com a gente na carreira, a gente, é claro que considera isso como sendo um ponto positivo, muito positivo, de quem participou e teve o esforço e o trabalho de vir até aqui, né? Mostra realmente que é uma pessoa que se dedica e leva a coisa até o fim. Então, só por isso já estão de parabéns. E a equipe que for a vencedora aqui, que nos represente bem lá nos Estados Unidos, eu desejo toda boa sorte e obrigado de novo pela participação.
Obrigado, Luiz.
Bom, pessoal, falar depois do Luiz é sempre muito difícil, né? Porque ele é nosso expert, nosso senior do Research Challenge. E eu já tive, inclusive, o grande prazer de trabalhar junto com ele e estou fazendo isso há menos tempo que ele, estou fazendo isso há 15 anos e, enfim, eu acho que vocês todos que estão aqui, eu gosto de sempre pontuar esse valor. Vocês, ao se inscreverem no Research Challenge e buscar fazer isso por conta própria, vocês demonstram que vocês têm os valores que a gente busca no CFA, né? Que é melhoria constante, aprendizado, realmente levar o conhecimento lá para frente. Eu acompanho o Luiz na percepção de que a qualidade do trabalho aqui não fica devendo para a research de sell-side e as análises que a gente está acostumado a olhar no dia a dia. Então, vocês estão com o caminho trilhado para, enfim, seguir os rumos profissionais que vocês vão buscar. Então, eu só tenho a agradecer e acompanho também na percepção de que foi uma decisão super difícil. A gente sabe o tanto de trabalho que vocês tiveram para chegar até aqui, todo esse tempo de envolvimento com esse projeto, a gente sabe disso e, por isso torna, inclusive, a nossa tarefa bem mais difícil. Então, saibam que a gente percebe, a gente sabe disso e realmente reconhece. Então, vocês estão todos de parabéns. E muito para aqueles times que não forem os vencedores, saibam que a qualidade está fantástica. Para aquele time que seguir adiante, a gente deseja muita sorte nas próximas etapas. Já é? Muito obrigado.
Obrigado, Fernando.
Bom, pessoal, é a minha primeira vez aqui nessa banca para avaliar esses trabalhos. Fiquei super bem impressionada com todos os trabalhos. A minha carreira, eu estou há 8 anos no mercado financeiro, então há não muito tempo atrás eu também era uma estudante da GV, no caso, competindo e tentando conhecer um pouco mais. Acho que a iniciativa do CFA, junto com a vontade de vocês de estarem vindo aqui, se expondo, sem medo, com um trabalho de excelente qualidade. Assim, o primeiro passo para uma carreira que eu tenho certeza que todos vocês vão poder ter muito sucesso na carreira de vocês, em qualquer banco de investimento, em qualquer outra área que vocês decidirem. Os trabalhos acho que foram excepcionais e talvez tão importante quanto quem ganhar é a participação nesse tipo de projeto. Eu sempre incentivo muito isso. Eu acho que a gente tem que ter cada vez mais a coragem de se expor, de buscar o que a gente acredita, para que a gente, de fato, tenha mais experiência, se exponha mais e consiga enriquecer a nossa bagagem de vivências, de experiências e de aprendizagem. Então, assim, parabéns para todo mundo. Acho que todos merecem estar aqui, todos fizeram super bem feito e a gente ficou super feliz em ver esses trabalhos.
Obrigado, Faiga.
I guess I'm the only person standing between you guys and knowing what the result is. So I will keep this very brief, but I want to say a few things. First of all, before I say a few words about the presentations, I just want to say, from my perspective and on behalf of the CFA Institute, thank you to the guys here for organizing this. Let's give the organizers a round of applause for their efforts. Can we? I've been judging these events now for about 4 years in different parts of Latin America, and I always enjoy it an awful lot, not only because I get to learn about a new company. It terrified me when a couple of your presentations were sales with a CFO sitting behind me. I was worried what his reaction was. I was too scared to turn around, but I've learned about this company more than obviously I knew before, so thank you all of you for helping educate me on that. All of the presentations I enjoyed. I was most informative, they all were, and it was a pleasure to have been attending here. A couple of things I would like to say. Let me also thank actually my fellow judges for participating. Thank you guys. Let's give them a round of applause if we can. And then obviously we must thank our CFO here and Anima for actually making their time available. I know that they have a public company to run, so it's not as though they have nothing else to do with their time. A couple of you said that they've got some work to do, so for him to be here is a privilege to have you, so thank you very much for joining us. Now, I think the most important thing that I'd like everyone to take away from this is, by the very essence, whoever wins today, the very essence, all four of the teams, by being here, you're all winners for being here, because you all got through a selection round to be here today. And that's an important factor. Obviously, only one person from today is going to move forward, but you are all successful by having got here. So remember that when you take away whatever the announced result is. I'd also say that whoever wins today, you are obviously representing your university, but you're also representing your country. And so when you go up to the States and participate, remember that. But also remember that this is a real opportunity. So whoever does win, and when you go up to the States and when you meet up with the various teams that are there, use it as an educational and a learning experience. There will be incredible opportunities to meet people from different parts of the world, people you've never seen before with different cultures, different experiences, and use that as an opportunity. Have fun when you're up there. Yes, it's a lot of stress standing up and presenting in front of us, but make sure you have fun when you're doing it. Try and be as relaxed as possible. It's not easy, but do enjoy yourself. I know when I was your age, a couple of years ago, that's what I thought. No, when I was your age, I would never have had the confidence to stand up in front of a room full of nasty-looking judges and make a presentation, and sort of the quality you guys did. So I'm really impressed with all of you, and I just thank you for making the time and the effort. And you should be very proud of what you've achieved. And when you go through in your careers, make sure you reference what you've done today, because what you all did in terms of the preparation and the work was of high quality, and you should be very proud of that. And you should use that when you go for your interviews, and make sure the interviewers know of the work that you've done, each and every one of you. So that's it from me. Have fun. Thank you very much for all of you for participating. And now you can get to enjoy the rest of your weekend, finally.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, judges. I can announce right now, or we can chat about soccer. I don't know, whatever. Politics. What would you rather me to do? So what I'll do, I'll announce 4th place, 3rd place, and then 1st place. Okay, I'm gonna skip the 2nd place. So yeah, hopefully. As the judges said, the results were very tight. You should be proud of being here. You all have done a good job. So without further delays, please give a round of applause to the 4th place, which is PUC Rio. Now the 3rd place, which is IBMEC Rio. Finally, 1st place, do we have sound? 1st place, Poly. Congratulations. Obviously, INSPIR is a 2nd place, but you are all winners. All 4 teams are winners. Please. I'm very proud of you now. Please, Poly team and Faculty Advisor, if you could come here, we're going to deliver the trophies and have another round of photographies. Congratulations. Parabéns, pessoal. Sucesso.